All victory and glory to God the Beloved.
Please be seated. Today is a somewhat of a different day. Today is what you call a work casual day. And I'm dressing this way in particular to emphasize the fact that this is not a ceremonial day, this is a teaching day. So those of you who are not Maitreyans might want to find a more interesting pursuit to follow. Those of you who are Maitreyans, stick around. What is a Maitreyan? A Maitreyan is one who follows me. I am Maitreya, the friend of all souls. The Kalki Mahavatara Sadguru of the age, bringer of the age of universal God's pure divine truth.
Josh.
And that's not bragging. And I didn't name myself that. I saw something in a magazine this morning that called somebody a self-styled, what was it, a self-styled prophet. We wonder who styles prophets. Is there a prophet styling salon in the area anywhere around here? I haven't seen one. But we like this word self-styled because it means to most people that there's something false.
Yes.
And the people who are saying it have about as much qualification to decide whether a person is a prophet or not. A prophet is one who prophesies. Look it up in the dictionary. A prophet is not just any old person who brings something from God. A prophet is somebody who prophesies. But anyway, without getting into the technical details of it, there are so many people out there, and some of you are probably listening to this, and, you know, God bless you, you might actually pick up some enlightenment, that believe that they have some kind of, I don't know what, some divine right of kings or something to pass judgment on me, and not just me, but everyone else, you know, anyone who stands up to teach or preach. They have this carte blanche. That means a blank card, basically. Look it up. And so they are self-styled critics. I don't know who appointed them critics, but they seem to have styled themselves as critics. And they presume that they don't have to have any qualifications.
Yeah.
See, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in behavioral science, which at the time I went through college was a combination of sociology, anthropology, and psychology. I have a marriage family therapy license in the state of California, which is still valid and in force, even though I don't ordinarily practice. And yet, I don't see these people who write in. And by the way, if you're writing in, don't you have a life? Does what I'm doing here bother you so much that one guy wrote me last week and said, "You're false, you're false. If you want to know about the real Maitreya, go to this website." Why do I want to go to the... I've been to God. Is that good enough? I've been to college. Is that good enough? I've got 60-some years of experience in dealing with people and spirituality and God. Is that good? Is there anything that's good enough for you guys? No. And what are your qualifications? So the next guy that writes to me, I want him to give me his qualifications or her qualifications before you open your mouth, because if I don't see the qualifications in the headline, I'm going to delete it. As I should. I give you my qualifications. I don't hide anything. I'm not hurting you or you out there in Bite Land or Cyberland, but you seem to have this itch, kind of like jock itch or something, that you got to criticize. Anybody that stands up to do anything good, you got to jump in there. What are you doing for people? What are you doing on an average day? I spend my whole week serving humanity, serving God. What's your problem? What do you spend your whole week doing? Sitting there at your keyboard criticizing people that are trying to do something good, huh?
Yeah.
So send me your qualifications. I've given you kind of part of mine. I'm going to give you the rest of them here because that's what this teaching day is about. This is a teaching day for Maitreyans. We have very few Maitreyans in this hall. I won't lie to you. Because we are not here to build an ashram. I'm not here to build an ashram. I'm not here to build a neighborhood church. I'm not here to even build a local religion.
No.
God sent me back here to create a worldwide movement of truth and enlightenment to try and save humanity from its own insane, headlong rush to self-destruction. You might as well take two fully loaded freight trains, put them on the same track, and have them going at each other at 120 miles an hour. That's where humanity is right now. Wow. Israel will bomb Iran. Not because they want to. They don't have a choice. The mullahs and the ayatollahs of Iran have vowed that they will nuke Israel as soon as they can. Now you can say anything about that you want about it. If you had a family and your next door neighbor said, on Friday afternoon, I'm coming over with 2 pistols and a rifle and I'm going to kill your whole family, what would you do? Would you wait till Friday afternoon? I don't know. I think probably Friday morning the guy would be leaving the earth.
Yes.
If you cared anything at all about your family. So, I'm not being pro-Israel, I'm not being pro-Iran. I'm telling you that if one country tells another country they're going to absolutely annihilate them, that country has no choice whatsoever except to sit there and be annihilated or strike first. With a nuclear weapon, you can't strike second.
No.
And so, we have this situation in the world. If you look at this globe here, it's kind of a hokey mock-up, but you can look at it. You see, the globe has this white piece of styrofoam around it. It says Z-E-I-T-G-E-I-S-T. Zeitgeist. Now, Zeitgeist has a technical meaning in German, but I use it to represent the group spirit of humanity. All of these people, look at all these nations on here. Look at all these. Africa, America, China. All of the people in the world have a spiritual tone. They have a spiritual attitude. They have a mental attitude. And when that mental attitude is of goodness and, as they say, or they're so fond of saying, of light. I don't know how to get that. It's okay. Of goodness and light and right and morality and ethics and things of that sort, then this zeitgeist that surrounds the earth, and it really should be a plastic globe that goes all the way around it because it's not just a ring. But for purposes of our example here, this zeitgeist that surrounds the earth looks like that. It's full of light and love and good things. And this zeitgeist, in turn, exerts an influence back on the people of the world that makes it easier to love and to be ethical and to be moral. And I'm not talking about a stiff-necked puritanical morality, but a decent morality. It makes it easier. However, this zeitgeist goes in cycles because the world goes in cycles. During World War II, we had people like Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, Hirohito in Japan. All these people decided that they knew best how to run the world and that everybody should march in lockstep with them. See? The communists were doing the same thing. You realize Hitler was a reaction to the communist takeover of Berlin. The communist flag once flew above Berlin. And that's how Hitler got his traction. God help us, it's happening again. Who's going to get traction this time? But once that starts and darkness grows up in the hearts of the people, then this, I can't make it do it because I wish I had the technical gadget that would do it, but this turns dark. And when this turns dark, it exerts an influence on the people of the world. 25 years ago, Oh my goodness. 40 years ago, during the 60s, if two people had a little fender bender, they'd get out and hug each other. Because that was the zeitgeist. Peace, love. At the beginning of this session, you heard a little bit of a few bars of George Harrison's, you know, give me love, give me peace on earth, give me life, give me hope, keep me free from birth. And that's the way it was. But now, all somebody has to do is look at you sideways, and there's instant road rage. I was driving to breakfast yesterday. Yes, I drive. I don't fly. This is not a kidding. And a guy was walking. He wasn't even jogging. He was walking. He didn't even look as he stepped off the curb. And I stopped abruptly. And he gave me the, you know, the bird, the high sign. You know the one I'm talking about. I don't have to demonstrate it. And so we had a brief interchange, being part Scot, part Irish, part Italian, and part Bohemian. We had a brief interchange. It wasn't nice. Oh, but Maitreya, you should have been nice to this man. Thank you for your advice. I'll pass. The reason I will pass is because when you reward hostility, when you reward obnoxiousness, when you reward this kind of aggressiveness with some sort of timidity, you increase it in the world. In a way, you have a duty to slap these guys down. Because if you don't slap them down, they get more aggressive, and they get more aggressive. You know, maybe by calling this guy down, he'll think twice before he does this to somebody else, and he won't escalate to the point where he goes over and punches somebody through a window or kills somebody. Who knows? Yeah. We've tried, in our culture, we've tried tolerance. Oh, you should be tolerant. You should be tolerant of love. You should be tolerant of peace. You should be tolerant of goodness. You should be tolerant of compassion. You should be tolerant of kindness. You should not be tolerant of gangs that go around killing people. You should not be tolerant of people selling heroin to your children so that it ruins their lives. My little brother died at 30-some years old of heroin addiction that he got into when he was 15. He didn't need to die. So, you see, you have an obligation to put light into this zeitgeist. Now, a lot of people in this area were very close to West LA. Believe me, I grew up in Westchester, which is where the LA International Airport is now. And West LA was a different place. But now it's all, oh, you just have to love people and smile at them when they throw rocks at you. And no. I mean, it sounds good. And in times when this zeitgeist is full of light and goodness, it works. It did not work in Germany with the Jews. It did not work in Italy with the
Fascists?
no, with the gypsies. See, somebody asked Mahatma Gandhi once whether Satyagraha, which was his method of peaceful protest, would have worked in Germany. He said, maybe at the beginning, but not at the end. It's too late. So if you tolerate these things, if you don't stand your ground, if you don't hold the ground for your right to exercise your First Amendment rights to free speech and freedom of religion, not just freedom from religion like the communists like to say, it's freedom of religion. The government's supposed to keep their hands off of your damn religion. Or your blessed religion. Or whatever kind of religion you have. And here they are trying to force the Catholic Church to sell condoms. Why is that such a big deal? Because the next thing they're going to try is going to try to force you to do something you don't want.
Yes.
There's an old story of a writing that had to do with the Nazis taking away the Jews. And it starts off, I don't remember the whole thing, and I can't quote it verbatim, but you can look it up. Google it! It starts off saying, they came and took away some of my neighbors today. They must have done something wrong. And then they took some other neighbors away. They must have done something wrong. Now they're at my door, and it's too late. You have to stand strong for goodness. And sometimes that means getting in somebody's face and going, listen, bud, you're not getting away with it. So we have this zeitgeist. What we are working to do, what I am working to do, what God sent me back here to do, was to raise up a new race of people. Maitreans, soldiers of the light of God's pure divine truth, who are not afraid to fight darkness wherever it exists. They're not afraid. They're not going to wait for Saddam Hussein to come up out of the ground. They're going to reach down in that rat hole and pull him up. We don't wait for darkness to come for us. We go for it. You can be a Maitreyan without being a soldier of the light. But if you're a soldier of the light, you are pledged to attack and destroy darkness wherever it occurs. Now you got to be careful because there's bigotry. You got to be careful because you can get the idea that you, above all else, are right and righteous and everybody else is wrong and that they have to bow down to you. A lot of Christians fall into this. I had a Christian tell me I was going to hell the other day. And I said, isn't that kind of taking God's name in vain for you to tell me that you have the power to judge where I'm going? Oh, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. The Bible says. The Bible says. No. It came out of your mouth, pal. It came out of your mouth, out of your brain, out of your heart. And so you're responsible for it. I don't care where else it says it. You're responsible for it. So you got to watch out as Maitreans, as soldiers of the light, that you don't become some sort of tin Hitler running around telling everybody what they should do because it says in the Holy Book of Destiny, and you can buy this on Amazon if you want. It says Maitreya, the friend of all souls. Just look it up. It says in the Holy Book of Destiny that this, and this. It also says in the Holy Book of Destiny, you shall not use force, threat, coercion, intimidation, bribery, violence, or deception to cause anybody to join this religion. And that's a good policy other places too. It also says in here, I will not aggress against any person, nor will I shrink from aggression. And we don't. Bring it on. You have to draw a line in the sand. You have to say this far and no further. You have to do that if you want this zeitgeist to ever go from being dark as it is now. This is called, in the East, it's called the Kali Yuga. Kali is the goddess of destruction. So this is the age of destruction. It's the age of darkness. We're trying to turn the wheel so that this becomes, once again, the Satya Yuga, which is an Eastern term for the age of universal God's pure divine truth. The age of truth. Satya being truth. Not just any truth, but divine truth. That's our greater mission here. That's my greater mission here. Now, if you have a problem with that, why don't you take it to church or someplace? Or any place else you want, you know? Maybe you need a good dose of spiritual X-Lax or something to get over this, because I'm not hurting you. This guy said, well, this is the only real Maitreya. You gotta go to www. I didn't give you the thing because I'm not going to advertise for this guy. I went there, and it's a junker website. Which is fine. Quality of your website doesn't mean the quality of your spirituality. But what's this guy's problem that I'm here doing God's work? He doesn't know me. He doesn't know what I went through. He doesn't know what God put me through. And he doesn't know why I'm here doing what I'm doing. All he knows is I'm not him. And he can't take it. Tough, bud. Really tough. So Maitreans, we don't have many Maitreans here in this sanctuary. We don't have many Maitreans in this area. But we have Maitreans all over the world. And that's why this is going out over the internet. Very few of us here. We are in the hedonistic capital of the world. We are in Los Angeles. We have a paper here in Los Angeles, I won't mention the name, it'll probably sue me. It's one of these weekly things, and it's about this thick, and fully 2/3 of it is prostitution, well they call it escort services, and hedonistic little devices that you can buy to accentuate your sexual pleasure and things like that. 2/3 of it. Now, we're not prudes, but isn't that going a little overboard?
Yeah.
This is the capital. So we don't have very many Maitreyans in this particular area, but we have a lot of Maitreyans around the world. We have Maitreyans in India, we have Maitreyans in Germany, we have Maitreyans in New Zealand, we have Maitreyans in, where else?
Somewhere in Africa.
Italy, Africa, India, Czechoslovakia, Australia. So these are the folks that I'm talking to you guys, and you understand this. And if the people who are watching don't like it, don't bother me. But if you're going to write to me, list your qualifications first, okay? And if you can't do that, don't bother me, all right? What I wanted to talk about today, and I'm having a hard time getting around to it, because I think it's important for you to understand the social, humanitarian mission that God has given us. When we do what we call inner divine communion, when we take inner divine communion with God, some people call it meditation, but meditation has become such a bastardized word that I can't go there. It sounds like another word that it starts with an M. And so this is what we do is called inner divine communion, which means we turn within the secret inner sanctuary of our hearts through a method, and we commune with God therein. And God gives you what's called divine speakings and divine doings. Now, divine speaking might be just something that blurts out of your mouth. They're always beautiful. They're always sublime. They're always profound things. It's not like, I stubbed my toe yesterday. No, that's not a divine speaking. They have profound effects. And they are for you. If other people benefit from them, that's their business. But nobody, no Maitreyan, except for me, I'm Maitreya, not the Maitreyan, except for me and whoever I appoint to take over the leadership of this holy community, this Adhyatma Sangha, as it's called, worldwide, when I leave this world, nobody else gets divine guidance for other people. So you don't go up saying, I got divine guidance and you are supposed to... Brother, you see that hand? See how that's pointing? Look at that. He's got one finger going out that way. He's got three coming back this way. You better think about that. When you point your finger at somebody else, you got three pointing at you. No, God's divine guidance is for you. If the other person needs divine guidance, show them how to do inner divine communion. Give them holy initiation. Give them God's new covenant supreme promise. Teach them how to do inner divine communion. They'll get divine guidance for themselves. But don't go trying to set yourself up as the Mickey Mouth. This is Mickey Mouth. Always going around telling other people what they should do, very rarely taking their own advice. All right? So we do inner divine communion. We commune with God, and when you, as a Maitreyan, commune with God, then you commune with me. And you also commune with all of God's prophets, saints, Buddhas, saviors, avatars, and Mahavatars. Why? Because at the time I died and went into perfect final union with God, I was initiated, I was baptized, by all of God's mercies. Oh, I just heard somebody snap out there. Are you okay? Let me see you. Let me see your eyes. Open your eyes real big. Somebody snapped out there. I can't do that. He can't say that. I can, and I did. And it did happen. And if you have proof that it didn't happen, then you come stand here and tell me what your proof is. I guarantee your proof will be because it says something else in somebody else's book.
Yes, not his personal.
Not because you were there, because I don't recognize you. You weren't there. So be careful. Be careful how you do this. Keep your own counsel. But do it through interdivine communion. And you will have a speaking. The way they happen is so amazing, because you'll be sitting there and all of a sudden it'll just come out of your mouth and you'll hear yourself and you go, did I say that? Well, yes, in a way you did, but God is speaking. He's motivating you. He's stirring up your spirit so that you speak things that you need to hear. Now, maybe somebody else in the group or the audience needs to hear it too. That's none of your business. That is none of your business. And if you make it your business, then you're going to miss the point yourself. It may be a divine doing. Suppose you're sitting there, however you sit. You don't have to sit like this, but suppose you sit. And all of a sudden your arm goes like this. You'll feel it. It's like it's moving itself. Now, if your arm goes like this and you punch the guy next to you, that's not a divine doing. Okay? Because one of the fundamental things of all of this is that God will never, and neither will I, move you to harm any other person or yourself. Oh, does that mean you have to be a pacifist? No, it doesn't. But you're on your own when it comes to defending yourself. There's nothing wrong with defending yourself. If you're truly attacked and you're an innocent victim, or if another person is being attacked and is an innocent victim, and you cold cock some guy, I'll stand behind you. I'll stand with you. Because that is in the name of goodness. Nobody should have to stand there and be attacked by some fool or some brute without anybody intervening. And that happens so often. People get beat to death with people standing around with their thumbs in their ears, and never do a thing about it. You know what? When you see evil going on and you do nothing about it, you're part of it.
Yes.
In the legal field, they call it being an accessory. You know, if you're there and somebody's murdering somebody and you don't do something to stop it, you can be an accessory to murder. But it's even more profound with regard to God and the zeitgeist and your spiritual life. If you see evil and you take no action to set it right, now be careful again, because what you think is evil has to be really based well and solidly rooted in divine truth. But if it's solidly rooted in divine truth and you don't do something the best you can to stop it, then you're an accessory. You inherit the karma of the person who's doing the evil.
Wow. Oh.
You see, nobody, including God, is going to ask you to die and let your family go hungry in order to stop something that's going on. But if you can stop it without giving up your own life, or if it is a big enough cause that it's worth giving up your own life, that's your decision, then and you don't do it, then you're contributing to it. You're contributing to it. So this is our overall, this is our humanitarian purpose. This is our greater purpose, is to bring forth the age of universal God's pure divine truth on earth. And then we get into more of a personal purpose. For the universal salvation and liberation of all souls, and to secure the continued survival of humanity. There's no other way. I hate the word only. It's so abused. But this is the only way we are going to stop this insanity. How do you stop this country from nuking this country? Well, it used to be mutually assured destruction when we were in the Cold War with Russia. Mutually assured destruction means, it spells mad, by the way. That means that we have so many nukes and you have so many nukes that if anybody fires them, we're all going to die. Yeah. It was very effective with Russia, with the Soviet Union. Might be effective with China. It is not effective with the Islamic nations because they want to die. So it's saying we're going to nuke you. They go, far out, we get to go to paradise. I hope you're right. I don't think so. But, you know, that's your decision you got to live by. So, mutually assured destruction won't work anymore. The only thing that's going to work is a wave of true enlightenment, an awakening that goes all around the world and turns this zeitgeist bright and clean again. Well, everybody's working on that. Everybody's doing the same thing. You know, we got people all over the world. They're all doing that. Why should anybody pay any attention to you? You know, how many dentists are there in this country? Do you have any idea? I'll bet there's like 3 million at least. But if you got a toothache and you need your tooth fixed, you got to go to a dentist, don't you? You can't just go, well, you know, there's 3 million dentists in this country. Why should I go to the guy on the corner? No, you're going to go to the guy on the corner. So what's wrong with, I don't care how many people are working on this, what's wrong with somebody coming here and working on it this way? Unless you got a real bug up your nose. And if you got a bug up your nose, you need to go see either a bugotologist or some guy that works on noses, an ENT. And there's millions of them too, but you still got to go to one. So this is our grand purpose. In particular, however, is the individual salvation and liberation of the individual. Some call part of it self-realization. We call it God's new covenant. And see, God's supreme promise, which I'll deal with, I hope, if I have time, has to do with this. God's new covenant has to do with this, the individual. Now, I have a method for you, but I have no path, so to speak. Now, why do I have no path? Well, first of all, I'm not interested in paths, or I'd be out laying cobblestone someplace. I'm not interested in your method, whether your method is better. My method can beat your method. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is getting you as an individual home into perfect final union with God. It's a little bit of a difficult concept to grasp. So let me illustrate it a couple of ways. Suppose I take a drop of water. Now, the ocean is about 1 block down here, the Pacific Ocean. Suppose I take 1 drop of water out of the Pacific Ocean, I bring it up here and put it in a cup. And then I go back and I pour it into the Pacific Ocean. Can you find that drop of water once it hits the ocean? Well, where is it then? Did it disappear? No, it didn't disappear. It became the whole ocean. It became the whole ocean. You see, this is an integral universe. There's a constant interchange of molecular structures between everything in this universe. Right now, those of you who are sitting here, your molecular structure and the chair are interchanging in a way. Somebody once said that if you were to go down here and pour a cup of water into the ocean, there's an equal probability that a molecule of that water will end up in the brain of any given person you might pick on the planet within 24 hours. That's how much of an interchange there is. I don't know if that's true. I've heard it. Sound good? So, perfect final union is like the drop of water going back into the ocean and becoming the ocean. See, you're the drop of water. You Maitreya's. You're like drops of water. And when your body is no more, your body's like a cup. Or let's say, because the drop water is too small, let's say a small glass of water. That's you. Your body's the glass. It's the container. When this body breaks, you're going to do one of 2 things. You're either going to go back into the ocean or you're going to go on the ground. Eventually you'll find your way back to the ocean. Everybody goes home, sooner or later. It's that later part that gets you. How many times have you lived? I have people tell me, I know about 5 of my lifetimes, and I was a prince, I was a princess, I was a king. What about the pauper, the horse thief, the guy who was drawn and quartered for being a traitor and all that? Well, I was never one of those. Never will be. Yeah, right. Okay. Wrong. You have lived more times than there are grains of sand on this beach. And until you find your way home into perfect final union with God, like the cup of water going back into the ocean, you will continue to live lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, an infinite number of times if necessary. There's no guarantee. The only guarantee is that when God finally decides to collapse the known creation, and scientists are fond of calling that entropy, as if that changed it. Entropy. Now, I'm part scientist. I was raised by my mentor, and my guardian was an engineer. And so I love science. But science has a problem. It never knows where to stay. Science is supposed to stay in the material world and deal with things that can be tested through science. But they never quite get there. They get into this thing of, well, it's kind of the communist, Marxist, socialist thing of science is supreme. Science is supreme. I'll take a little side road here for a minute. I read something in Wired magazine about forgetting drugs. They now have forgetting drugs. One of them is, what's it called? Versed. I almost forgot. I refuse to use this stuff when I go for surgery. I don't want to forget. I want to remember. I want to remember what happened. And even with Versed, I can go back through my memory. It takes a lot of digging because it kind of scrambles things up, but I can go back and recover memories. But this whole new thing is that the thing to do with people is when they have a painful experience, you give them a drug that wipes out the memory. How do you ever get any stronger? We gain strength, we gain moral fortitude, we gain intestinal fortitude, and boy do I have some of that, by coping with difficult situations and learning how to deal with them. If all you do is forget them, pretty soon you're going to be like a marshmallow. It's like the story of the princess and the pea. I don't mean pea, you know, the little pea, the green thing. She wanted a bed that was exquisite, and so they made this bed for her, and she lay on it, and she was so sensitive that she said, oh, there's a little lump here someplace, and somehow a pea had gotten into the fabric of the mattress. So she asked for another mattress. Well, for a couple of weeks that worked fine, but then her little behind got so sensitive to the softer mattress that she felt the pee again. Pretty soon she had mattresses stacked upon mattresses, and she couldn't even get on the bed anymore, because this is what happens. This is what's wrong with using heroin and downers and all that kind of stuff. They make you so comfortable and so pain-free that when you come back here, it's like chewing on a buzzsaw or taking a bite out of a grinding wheel. So what's going to happen when these people get their way and all they do is you have a trauma of some sort, they just make you forget it. You're going to get softer. The next one's going to be, pretty soon people are going to crack. I promise you. Take my word. If not as a Maitreya, if not as a Sadhguru, then as somebody who at least holds a master's degree in behavioral science and as a marriage family therapist, and have been since 1974. I've done a lot of therapy. What makes people stronger is coping with difficulty, coping with the horrors of life, not forgetting them. Yeah. But you see, we have this, science doesn't know where to stay. Science doesn't know where to stay. And the guy who came up with this was actually a scholar, which is very unusual. But the guy who came up with it says, my greatest fear is that some dictator will get a hold of this. They can make you forget freedom. They can make you forget morality. They can make you forget, you know, everything you want. And you just become like a drone doing the bidding of this dictator. He's scared of that. If you're that scared of it, don't develop it, for God's sake. I just read about some scientist that's developing a bird flu that can be communicated to people. Why? Why? People ought to go ahead and nuke that lab. Get the people out first. Nuke that lab and everything with it. Give this guy the forgetter thing so he can't remember how to do that formula. Once that thing gets cut loose on humanity, no telling what's going to happen. But science can't resist.
Oh my God.
Science can't resist. And they can't resist dealing with religion. What I love is they go, no, there is no such thing as creation. It's the Big Bang and evolution. What do you think creation was? What do you think creation was? God said, let there be, boom, and there was a Big Bang. And you see, there's no conflict at all. If you really stand back and look at it carefully, there's no conflict at all. And having been in oneness with God, I can tell you firsthand, there's no conflict at all between creationism and evolution, guys.
Yeah.
God created evolution.
That's right.
What's your problem? Now, the fact that we don't know of any crossover from one species to another, we don't know of it. We also don't know what's down 4 miles, 5, 6 miles, 7 miles, 20 miles down in the earth either. Doesn't mean it isn't there. But we don't have to argue that. God created all of creation, so He also created evolution. Huh? You guys have a problem with that, see? Because it's supposed to be the Big Bang. What was a Big Bang? Because when God conceived of creation, it came into being. Now, people on the creation side like to think that God created everything exactly like it is now.
Oh,
But if you go back 20,000 years and look at the things that were around then, they're not just like they are now. They change with time. So do we. Hairless little creatures that we are, well, except on top of our heads and things like that. So, we have this problem that people divide themselves into camps. And it's like the people who write to me so often. They have to divide them into a camp. You're over there, I'm over here, so you're bad and I'm good. And you ought to do it my way. Did I ever say you have to do it my way?
no.
I come with a gift in my hand like this. Not like this, or pushing it down your throat, but like this. If you want it, come and get it. If you don't want it, go get something else. What's your problem? Except that you want to play God. Now, I've been in oneness with God. Total oneness. As much oneness, more oneness with God than that drop of water or that glass of water going into the ocean becomes one with the ocean. I've been there. And I didn't get there through the Shiva method or the this method or the Silva method or the Domo method or the Bibo method or the Wawa method or anything else. The first time, I got there through sheer stupidity. How can you possibly have enlightenment through sheer stupidity? Well, it's easy. When I was 8 years old, I was sitting on the stairs, way up at the top of the stairs. My dad was down working in the basement in his workshop. And I was sitting there kind of watching him. My little brother was kind of an ornery cuss. He came up and he grabbed me. And I knew we were going off the stairs. There was no railings, guys. No OSHA. Private house. And I went off backwards with him on me like this. And I smacked down on the concrete, the back of my head. And I died. So I guess you could say I took the stupid path. And I died. For a few seconds. Worldly time. And during that few seconds, God took me into perfect final union with Him. Well, why you? I can't tell you how many times people have asked me that stupid question. I don't know. I don't know. Just happened, see? And I became one with God. I lost myself. This self went into what I call a state of dissolution. Just like if you took an ice cube and dropped it in the ocean, it would eventually dissolve in the ocean. No, I wasn't God. It wasn't a 12-year-old kid shining white light out of every orifice in my body being God. God was I. There's a difference, an important difference. And so, I can't tell you how happy I was. You know, people say, oh, it'd be so sad to die. No, it wasn't. It was like, yes, I'm home. I'm home, Dad. And then, God asked me to do something unspeakable. Unthinkable. No, it wasn't any of that weird, kinky stuff that you guys think. In LA think of. He asked me to come back here. And there was enough of me, I guess, left. You know, there must have been some shred, some modicum of me that he allowed to stay there so that we could interact, kind of. And I said, no, I don't want to go back. I am home. I am home. I want to stay here. And I made the mistake, I guess, of saying, why should I go back? Now, when I say saying, there are no words being exchanged here. This is a metaphorical, allegorical representation of what happened. It's kind of like when you think things inside your head, you know, and you answer them, but more so. And God said, let me show you why you have to go back. And in that instant, he showed me all of the suffering in the world all at one time. I love it when atheists say, well, you know, if there's a God, how come he doesn't suffer? Oh, does he suffer? He knows every single least little pain, the pain in the arch of my foot right now that is nagging at me. He knows that. The pain that's behind your eyes, he knows that. The pain that's in your heart, he knows that. But he doesn't know it like you know it, because you have all these psychological, physiological mechanisms to dull the pain. You realize if you get shot, you don't feel it unless you survive. I mean, the impact of the bullet is such that the body goes into shock and you don't feel it until after a few seconds. Nature is very merciful in most ways. People are not merciful, but nature is. And so he showed me all this suffering the way he feels it. And it was, I can't tell you what's going on in this world right now. Watch all of the most horrid movies you can about child slavery and child sex slaves and sex slavery around the world, and people having their arms and legs and fingers cut off in the African nations by imbecilic dictators and things like that. Watch them all, put them all together in one place in a nightmare, and you won't even come close to 1/10,000,000th of what I experienced. And so I said, yes, I'll go back. What's the deal? And he said, here's the deal. No, he didn't say it like that. Not a car salesman, but I'm just giving it to you again in a metaphorical way. He said, you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to forget everything except a thin, thin thread that will guide you. And when you get back there, your job is going to be to find your way back home into perfect final union with me of your own works and of your own doing. Your own works and your own doing. Sign just fell over. Your own works and your own doing. Go pick it up, right? Our sign fell over out in front. It's very windy. So, what he said to me was this, is that everything good that takes place in this world is through two things: divine grace and your works. There's a third thing called right circumstance, but that's something we won't go into. Now, I have a fundamentalist Christian friend who insists that works don't have anything to do with salvation. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. You can think that if you want, but you can also think that there are rabbits running around that have horns and cows that fly. It's not going to change anything. It's the combination of grace and faith and works that makes it run. So I said, okay, and boom, I woke up in a bed, and Dr. Gibson was his name. He was the guy who birthed me. And he was there. They used to actually come out to your house, can you believe that? No ER rooms. They came out to your house. And he was there, and all these people were crowded around me. And I had a headache like you wouldn't believe. I still have echoes of those headaches. And I have to actually sometimes resort to taking something. Ooh, Maitreya took something. He took Advil or Tylenol or something like that. Actually, sometimes I've had to take stronger things. I've had to have shots for them. Because that smacking down on the concrete reverberates through almost an entire lifetime. It's gotten better as I've gotten older, or I've gotten number, I'm not sure which. But I woke up and there I was, and for a month or so, I had a migraine headache. And they said, we don't know how you came back, because technically you were dead. But you came back. I said, yeah, I don't know how I came back either, because I didn't remember anything. And so I started on this 22, 23-year-long journey. I'm slow. I'm not bright. I'm not the brightest bulb in the pack. But I started on this journey, and I didn't know what it was, because there was this thin thread that would guide me, and I'd go off this way, and then bring me back over here. I'd go off this way, bring me back over here. And I go, what's going on? All I want to do is be an ordinary guy that marries an ordinary gal, has an ordinary family, that grows up and has grandkids and gets old and dies, and that's what I want to do. But instead, God had other designs, and this thread of guidance would always move me in a different direction. I tried the drugs. Look, I grew up in the 60s. If you remember the 60s, you probably weren't there. But I tried everything. I tried alcohol, I tried drugs, I tried sex, drugs, rock and roll, and all that kind of stuff. Anything to not have to go in a direction where I would end up doing what I'm doing right now, talking to you and having you go, well, this guy's a crazy weirdo. And you don't know anything about me. You wouldn't know crazy if I came up and bit you on the ass. Or maybe you would, actually, come to think of it. So, I wandered around. I found a friend. One thing I did remember, God gave me a face of a man. I didn't know why, but I kept seeing this face in my dreams. And then one day, through a circuitous route, I ended up going over to see a guy about psychic stuff. Because I couldn't do anything with God. This was LA. It's still LA. You still can't do anything with God. You say, God, people run out the back door. I actually had a woman do that one night. God! Oh, she's gone. Thank you, God. People don't like the word God, so they use anything else. Divine consciousness. What do you think God is? Divine bliss. The source of all light. What do you think God is? You know, get over it. It's a little word. One syllable word. Works great. Huh? What's your problem? Oh, I don't like religion. Especially I don't like organized religion. Well, do you like disorganized religion? What do you like? No, you like going out and smoking pot and having sex and doing all the stuff that you do. And, you know, if that's your gig, that's your gig, but you're missing a lot. And I'm talking to my Maitreya here, so I doubt seriously that that's the gig that most of you are on. But I went to this house, knocked on this guy's door. The door opened, there was the face. His name was Henry D. Frazier. Henry Dewey Frazier. He was an engineer. A brilliant engineer. He had, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 patents in semiconductor glass before they even knew what to do with it. Worked for a place called Pacific Semiconductors in Redondo Beach. Became part of TRW, Thompson, Ramo, and Woolridge. In case you don't know what TRW stands for, it was 3 guys that started. A guy by the name of Thompson, a guy by the name of Ramo, and a guy by the name of Woolridge. Now you know something you didn't know when you came. Which is totally useless information, but you know it. And so he helped me. He helped guide me. He didn't know what I was doing either. But the strangest thing happened when you talk about speaking is when he opened the door, his face was filled with amazement because out of his mouth came the words, "What took you so long to get here?" And I said, "Well, Mr. Frazier, I'm 5 minutes early." He said, "No, I mean, what took you so long to get here?" And he became my mentor, my guardian, my friend, my brother, and eventually, when he passed away, he never gave me any compliments. He would not compliment me. He said, "If you need a compliment, then you don't know that you're doing the right thing." When he died, he said, "I can no longer tell where I begin and he leaves off, or he begins and I leave off." And there was nothing kinky about this relationship. He was married, had 6 kids. It was cool. So after he died, I became desperate. I want you to mark that word in your book. You all have your books out? No, you don't have a book. Well, write it down. D-E-S-P-E-R-A-T-E. Desperate. I didn't become inspired. I became desperate. It wasn't inspiration, it was desperation. I just knew that I'd lost my best friend, my brother, a person I'd worked with for 20-some years. There was nothing, and I still didn't know where I was going. All I knew was I had to go somewhere, but I didn't know where I had to go. I was desperate. And so I sat down in the backyard of 204 North Catalina Avenue. You can still go see the house that I lived in. It's at Flagler and Beryl and Flagler in Redondo Beach. It's now called the Morrell House. Soon to have a plaque in it that notes that that's where our religion started. And I sat down in the backyard in an old Volkswagen van. I couldn't find a Bodhi tree, so I let that out. And there weren't any crosses, so I wasn't going to get crucified. But I sat down in this van and I said, I'm either going to sit here and die, will myself to death, or I'm going to find out what this is all about. And I did. I found my way back home into perfect final union with God. The glass of water once again went into the ocean and became the ocean. I was home. I said, hi, Dad, I'm home. And he said, okay, welcome home, son. Now it's time to go back. I said, go back? He said, to go back and finish what you started. And he didn't have to show me the suffering again, but I was reminded of it. And in a moment of what I can also only call totally irrational compassion, I made a vow. Now, you can make a vow to your friend and break it, and nothing much is going to happen. If he's a good friend, he'll probably forgive you. But I made this vow directly to God while I was in perfect final union with God. And I said basically this, if you put it into human words: Father, I will never again take my own perfect final union with you until I have seen every last soul in this creation safely home into perfect final union with you before me. But I will return to this world as you have requested and live out the life of this ordinary body, whatever that may be, whatever it may bring. And when this body is gone, I will ascend into the spirit realm, near to you, but not totally at one with you. And I will live in the heart of every soul. And anyone who calls upon me, I will become active within his heart. I will guide all souls home to you. Big bang. He said, okay. If I'd been in this body, I would have gone, wait a minute! Let me think this over. That was a rash statement. But I wasn't. And so, then something miraculous, beyond all miracles. You can talk about miracles. Somebody accused me of not being real because I don't do signs and wonders. Well, I don't know what signs and wonders. I got a sign on the front that says, this is the Adhyatma Yoga Dharma Center. It's God's Eternal Universal Religion. You had my picture on it. Is that a sign? I don't know. I got one in the back too. How about a wonder? Well, I wonder what this guy's talking about, see? And I wonder why he's bothering to bother me about it. But he wanted signs and wonders. He said, you can't be real because you don't do signs and wonders. Wait a minute. What about the greatest miracle on earth that's taken place in the last 200 billion years? Will that do? No, it won't do. So forget him. Maitreya, forget these guys. Don't waste your time on them. Unless God moves you to, or I move you to through inner divine communion and divine guidance. Don't waste your time on them. But God did something that was unexpected. See, all of this was unexpected. The only thing that was expected was that I would try my best to find my way home to God of my own works. Everything else is unexpected. And the most unexpected thing is God, the Father of us all, your Father, my Father, as well as the Father of Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and all the rest of the prophets, saints, Buddhas, saviors, and avatars of history, said this: because of your self-sacrifices and vow, because of your love of humanity and your love of all souls, I now make this new covenant with all souls. You can say mankind if you want, but with all souls. That whosoever will receive the true enlightenment of your holy initiation and follow you to the end of this life, I will give that soul, I will give that man, I will give that woman, I will give that child what you have sacrificed for the sake of all souls. Namely, exactly and precisely, perfect final union with me. God said this, not me. And that soul will never have to be born or suffer or die again, but will live forever in perfect final union with me. Well, I was in perfect final union, and I knew what that meant. You don't know what that means. It's not heaven. Perfect final union is so far above heaven that it makes heaven look like hell, and heaven's a great place. Fantastic place. And it makes hell look really bad, by the way. Doesn't make this world look that good either. And then he said, now, return to this world and spread this to all souls. You see, at that time, he's putting me back together. I'm reconstituting. I'm being reconstituted as a person. Or as Khalil Gibran, the prophet, would say, gathering sand and foam for another life. And there was enough of me there by then to be a little cantankerous, and I said, Father, I'm only one person. How am I going to spread this to all these people? And he said, I give you this, my supreme promise, that when there are enough souls on this earth who have received your holy initiation and my new covenant, and are practicing it and fulfilling it by following you to the end of their lives, I will spread my new covenant into the hearts of every soul. And every soul will have the opportunity to come home into perfect final union with me at the end of his or her life. Now again, this is God talking, not me. Now why do you say opportunity? Well, you see, when God built us, and when he rebuilds us, there's certain qualities we have as soul. See, soul is just God's spirit encased in a little ball of forgetfulness. Because you can't really get rid of God. I used to get a kick out of it when I was a kid going to Methodist Sunday school, and they told me I had to invite God in my heart. I said, wait a minute, you just told me that he's omniscient, omnipresent. Doesn't that mean he's in my heart? Well, that's another story. But so I came back. I came back. I was kind of a wreck. I had to really repair a lot of ego that had been lost along the way. Can't say I've done the best job of it, but I sure haven't done the worst job of it. Although some of my critics would disagree. But then take a look at them. Make sure they are willing to be as transparent as I am before you listen to them. And I doubt it. So I came back. And there I was, sitting there with my bachelor's degree. Oh, look good on the table, look good on the wall. And my master's degree, look good on the table, look good on the wall. My marriage family therapy license all ready to go. I was going to make a lot of money, have a nice boat down here in the harbor, start a clinic, and do all kinds of wonderful things. And there I was, and I sat down in the living room. If you ever visit the Morrell house, where the fireplace is, I sat down on an old metal chair. And I said, God, if this is what you want me to do, Father, then you better know how to keep me fed and alive, because I sure don't know how. Well, he's done a little better than he should down in this department. But I'm not rich. I passed up a lot of chances to get rich. I don't want to be rich. I don't have a whole following that walks down this aisle and bows down and polishes my shoes and kisses my feet. I won't have it. I don't mind kissing somebody else's feet.
Yeah.
But I'm not in this world to have my feet kissed. Believe it or not, I did enough yoga. If I want to kiss my foot, I can kiss my own foot. There's only one time I allowed it, and that was when we had a woman who was part of our holy community, our Sangha. Her name was Saroj, and she had some children. And when you go to a Hindu's house, it's traditional for the children to bow down and put their forehead on the feet of the elders. And at first I almost jumped up and ran out the door, but then I realized, no, this is their tradition. This is what they do. And that's the one time that I've allowed that. When a person becomes a soldier of the light, it's not a secret ceremony, but I'm not going to make it public. But part of it is that I wash their feet. And if you're acting on my behalf, then you wash their feet. If you don't have the humility to wash another Maitreyan's feet, you'll never be a soldier of the light. You'll never even really be a Maitreyan. So I came back, and then Tara came along and said she wanted to be part of this effort, and then other people came along. Some stayed, some went. It didn't go well. I decided, foolishly and stupidly, that I was going to have everybody live in the same house. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh, we all just love each other so much, we'll just all live in the same house. Well, I had a friend, an acquaintance, his name was George Tang, T-E-N-G. He was kind of a Tibetan monk, self-styled Tibetan monk. Nobody else styled him. You know, it wasn't Franco of New York or anything that styled him. It was then a Tibetan monk. He became a Tibetan monk. And we were sitting there having coffee one day. Yes, coffee. And I told him what I was going to do, and he just threw his hands up in horror and said, "Don't do it, Maitreya, don't do it. Please don't do it." He said, "You'll be so sorry." And I said, "George, I know what I'm doing." Hubris is a terrible thing. And so we moved into a house together. It was pure hell. Now, there are people out there right now who are called DEMs. That doesn't stand for Democrat. Disgruntled ex-members. And they will swear up and down that this religion is a terrible religion and everything. It wasn't the religion. It was the personalities. 13 people in one house trying to live together. You can't even do that with a family. People are looking for the door. Oh, when can I get out of here? So it went badly. So okay, it went badly. It was an experiment. Life is an experiment. But there were some good things too. There were good times, but there were some real bad times. So the DEMs, the disgruntled ex-members, they're out there and about, and you'll read about them. If anything, notoriety ever comes of my work here, they're going to pop out of the woodwork and go, you know, well, that's what do you think disgruntled ex-members are for? Every religion has got dems and does. I don't know what does are, but they got dems and does. Disgruntled ex-member. So it went badly. So we learned our lesson about that, especially in America. Maybe in India you can do it. Maybe in Tibet you can do it. Maybe in China you can do it. Maybe in other places you can do it. But Americans are not built that way. So we gave it up. And now we have a headquarters. Don't call it an ashram anymore, because people confuse that with Hinduism. But we have a headquarters. A very decent headquarters. It's not elegant. It's not well furnished inside. It's kind of, as my ex-mentor would say, my former mentor would say, it's kind of an early attic, Salvation Army special. But it's where we work out of. And we have this beautiful sanctuary here. Thanks to God and thanks to the generosity and the spirituality of the man who owns this property. So we're here. But this place, whether it's beautiful or whether it's not, whether you think it's good or whether you don't think, whether you like the light shades or whether you don't, is not our purpose in life. Our purpose is to create this worldwide movement, to create what I call divine critical mass. And you know, in a nuclear reactor, critical mass is when you pull the rods out. Well, that nuclear reactor that melted down in Japan, that went to critical mass as a meltdown. Terrible thing. But we're trying to create a good critical mass, a divine critical mass. That point at which God said, when there are enough souls in this world at any one time that have received the true enlightenment of your holy initiation and are following you according to my new covenant, I will spontaneously, without judgment, extend my new covenant to all souls. That's what we're working for. That's what we're working for. And in the meantime, as soldiers of the light, when we enter into inner divine communion, we don't just pray and we don't just meditate. We enter into this zeitgeist with the sharp sword of universal God's pure divine truth. Now, it's a sword that doesn't cut flesh. It only cuts away untruth and darkness. So every soldier of the light is given a wooden sword. You go, what are you doing with a wooden sword? Well, it's to remind you that our sword is not to cut other people's flesh. It's to cut away the knots, the bastions of darkness in this world that chain people to this endless wheel of birth, life, suffering, sickness, fear, pain, old age, death, and rebirth again. So that's why when you go into the home of a soldier of the light, you'll see a wooden sword on the wall. So we enter into this zeitgeist spiritually. And we do battle with the force of darkness. We go looking for it. Now, to become a soldier of the light, you have to take a gauntlet. We actually have a gauntlet, by the way. And part of the ceremony is you have to throw it down on the ground before the force of darkness and challenge the force of darkness to eternal battle with no quarter asked and no quarter given. You Christians out there, that's like saying to the devil, you and me, we're going to fight with no quarter asked and no quarter given. Don't run for Jesus. You're going to fight. I have had people who have been in battle in Vietnam and other places and been in terrible battles that couldn't throw that gauntlet down on the ground. And I've had other people who have come in, a little girl who went, yes, boom, and threw it down on the ground. It doesn't have anything to do with strength. It has to do with courage. It has to do with what you are willing to sacrifice to save the souls of this world and to save this world from destruction. And that's what I'm doing here. Now, guys, if you have a problem with that, please take it to church. Because I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing because you send me an email. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing because you come over here and scream at me. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing if you come and beat me up, and I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing if you shoot me in the head. Because when I leave this body, I'm going into the spirit realm to live within the hearts of all souls. All you're going to do is put me in the heart of every soul on this earth. If you do that, that's kind of a stupid move, but you know, that's where you're at, that's where you're at. Let's face it, we're all going to die sooner or later. I've been dead twice. How many times have you been dead? Think about it. So, don't threaten me. Don't threaten my trans. My trans know the truth, and the truth has set them free. Oh, fear is there. Sure, the body knows fear. The mind knows fear. But once you have God's new covenant and supreme promise in your heart, you as spirit know no fear. You can feel your body, the adrenaline pumps, all kinds of things happen that naturally happen, but you go, you know that that is not you. That you are that pure divine spirit which fire can't burn, wind can't chafe, nuclear weapons can't touch, knives can't cut. You always have been and you always will be. So when you come to become a Maitreyan, you inherit this new covenant and this supreme promise. You also inherit the responsibility. The responsibility to pass this on to others so that we can create this divine critical mass. Not to force it on others. Not to do a big Joe the car salesman thing to make other people, convince other people to take it, but simply walk around and say, here it is. This is the story. I've given it to you today. Here's the story. Do you want it? No? Okay. Do you want it? No? Okay. Do you want it? Yes? Okay. You see? And that is what you should be doing as Maitreyans in the world. We've got to build this divine critical mass. We're in a race with time. There's two trains going down the track. One is God's goodness. The other is the uncontrollable urge of humanity to self-destruct. Which one's going to get to the goal first? It decides what happens. If we get there first, we stop this one. If it gets there first, there will be no humanity. There will be a nuclear winter that will kill everything up to 2 miles down in the earth. Nothing will survive, not even the cockroaches. We have an urgent cause, an urgent purpose, an urgent mission. So please don't waste our time, you interlopers and critics, with your pontifications. They mean nothing. It's not that you don't mean anything. We love you. We want you to have this new covenant. We want you to be a Maitreya. We want you to grow up into being a soldier of the light and become one of the forces that crush this force of darkness and save humanity from self-destruction. But don't try to waste our time with your pontifications. But do, if you're going to send those emails, put your qualifications as the first thing, okay? And I hope they're good enough, because if they're not, everybody here is instructed to hit delete. They got to be at least as good as mine. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Look, I'm being kind of facetious here because it gets very irritating. It's like having athlete's foot or something. You know, it's not deadly, but it does bug you when your foot itches. And that's the way the critics are. Instead of being a critic, use your time to go out and do something good for humanity. And if you can't find anything good to do for humanity, then come here and I'll give you something good to do for humanity. Yeah, you got to follow me. Sorry, guys. Not my determination, that's God's determination. I'm not sure that I would be comfortable following me all the time. But in 35 years, I've never hurt anybody. I mean, I guess some people are hurt just because I'm alive. I can't help that. Some people are hurt because they walk into a room and the walls are green. You know, I can't help that. But I've never intentionally hurt anybody, and I've never actually done damage to anybody in 35 years. I'm not here to do that. So, those of you across the world, all around the world who are watching, God bless you and keep you and all those that you love and cherish, and give you the strength and the courage to help me to defeat the force of darkness and create this divine critical mass and bring forth the age of universal God's pure divine truth on earth for the universal salvation and liberation of all souls. I'm working for the universal salvation and liberation of you guys who criticize me, you guys that hate me, you guys that throw stones. No point in throwing stones. We have a saying in our religion: catch every stone that the bigots of this world throw at you and use it to build our church in this world. And that's what we do. So, you who are Maitreya, especially you who are soldiers of the light, we're together in this. Keep fighting the force of darkness wherever you find it. Go drag it out of that rat hole. Keep your vow that you made when you threw that gauntlet down. Don't shrink from darkness. Don't worry. You will prevail. We will prevail if we just persist. So this is pretty much what I have to say today. I wore my street clothes. I wore my army pants. I didn't even hide my cell phone. See? Because I want you to know that when I came back here, I told God I would live out this life in an ordinary body. This body has prostate cancer. I've been fighting it since 2001. Thanks to God and a great doctor down here in Marina Del Rey. If any of you have prostate cancer, please write to me and I will give you his name. Because all he does, like he and his partner, all they do is keep men alive. Do that before you go to the urologist and get all carved up, okay? He's got a great book called The Prostate Snatchers. His name is Mark Scholz, S-C-H-O-L-Z. You can get it on Amazon. Read it. I realize this isn't part of spirituality, but it's part of being ordinary.
Yeah.
You know? And so I had somebody who said, I don't know if I can follow somebody that has prostate cancer. Well, you got to do what you got to do. That's all I can tell you. And if you can't, you can't. I wonder if you could follow somebody with tuberculosis. How about Alzheimer's? I don't know. If you follow somebody with Alzheimer's, you're going to get lost. And I don't mean that in a funny way either, because it's a terrible disease. We all have our ways of living in this world. We all have our ways of leaving this world. Why mine is this, I don't know. It's my burden to bear. And as we played in the beginning, you know, George Harrison said, asking the Lord to give him a hand with this heavy burden that he carries. We all carry a heavy burden. But we can carry it better together than we can in isolation. So, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming for this educational talk if you're a Maitreyan. And if you stuck around and you're not a Maitreyan, well, you got some moxie. Maybe you should be a Maitreyan. At least a Maitreyan. You might go on and think about becoming a soldier of the light. And you soldiers of the light, God bless you. Keep on fighting. Get into the zeitgeist every day. Take out the sharp sword of universal God's pure divine truth and cut away those fetters of darkness from the souls of this world. Set them free if you can. And if you can't, at least do enough damage to the force of darkness that is busy enough fighting you that it's not hurting them. Because that's our purpose here. Help me to create divine critical mass. Help me to bring forth the age of universal God's pure divine truth on earth for the universal salvation and liberation of all souls. And if you can't help me, at least don't bug me. Om Soham Tetramasi. Om. You and I are one with the one and universal God of all creation and no other. Jai Bhagwanji, victory to God the beloved, that beloved universal I am that I am, which you are.
Jai Bhagwanji. Jai Bhagwanji. Jai Bhagwanji.